Right. Good afternoon. Sorry, good evening, everyone. So, can anyone hear me? I just want to make sure my network is good.
Yeah, well, with you.
Yeah. Alright, cool. Anyways, welcome again. Welcome once again to another session, another introductory session of the Choose Your Stack, brought to you by GDSCOOU, first of its kind. Today, we'll be going through some various stacks such as mobile development, technical writing, blockchain dev, and product management. I think I think we should wait. Should we wait a bit for more people to join in? Then we'll kick off by 4:10 officially. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
All right, no problem. JB, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so my chief, my idolo, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Okay, my mic. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Adomi. I am a full stack web developer, but it turns out I'm a mobile app developer too. So I will be taking you mobile development today, the mobile development stack. Just the introduction, how things are. It's not too much. I don't have anything grand to say, so I will just start. Um, so mobile apps are the ones we have on our phones. Mobile apps are the ones we have on our phones, iOS, Android. I think there are more platforms. There's like KOS and some other platforms, but then the major three platforms, of course, they just added one recently. It was just Android and iOS before, and then there is one platform again that Huawei made. I think I've forgotten the name, but then it's another platform. Most people don't really do anything there, but then it's a platform, so we need to acknowledge it. But then for simplicity's sake, sorry, we'll just stick with iOS and Android. I guess that's what most of us know. So if you're creating a mobile app, your app is either going to be on iOS or it's going to be on Android. I guess that's basically it. It's not like front end where if you create a website, you can turn it into a mobile app or turn it into a desktop app that you can use on your Windows or wherever. So mobile apps are just iOS or Android, right? But then it is cool to be a mobile app developer. It is cool to like decide that you want to be doing the mobile app stack and everything because a lot of people don't do mobile development. So you'd be kind of a rare gem. You'd be like special. Although you need some things more and then it's a lot more complicated than web development. And I believe mobile app developers get paid more on average than web developers just because of their rare gems, right? And then most people specialize in different platforms, like you specialize in iOS, specialize in Android. become a developer advocate or wherever and stuff like that. Sha. But then it is kind of nice to be a mobile developer if that's what you like, if that's what you feel that okay, my territory isn't in the web again. I feel like doing just mobile apps. Although you have a smaller audience than web developers, but then the audience is growing as time is going now. I believe in the last 10 years, the mobile phone usage has like doubled. So your audience is growing, it's growing, but it's not as large as web. But it doesn't really mean because then I guess every major company or every company will reach a stage where you be like, okay, we have a website, we need a mobile app. Then that's where you come along. So I guess mobile app development is nice too. As I said, we have Android and then we have iOS. So these two platforms, you would think that okay, they kind of like share similarities, but the funny thing is that they're actually different. They're actually different platforms. So the thing is that you need a different language, a different programming language to create a mobile app on Android. And then you need a different programming language to create a mobile app on iOS. And then that's the problem. I guess that's the issue. So I'll kind of explain it now. So Android itself, Android, I guess Android is like the most popular. Let's say Android is the most popular. Yeah, Android is probably the most popular. And then the most used too, because then Android is like worldwide and stuff like that. iOS is worldwide, but then Android is more used than iOS. Right. So Android was using Java before. Java is a statistically typed whatever programming language. And let me not get into that one. Right. So when we get further, we'll start to understand languages and dynamically typed, statistically, whatever. Sure. So Java is a language in itself. I would say that it's verbose. It's just most of it is boilerplate. You like most of the text or most of the language isn't really needed. Then I guess Google had problem because Google bought Android, right? So I'm giving guys a little backstory here. Google bought Android and like, you know what? Let's change the language, the core language of Android. And they changed it to Kotlin. So Kotlin now is like I would say like the default language for Android. Kotlin kind of looks like C sharp. If for anybody that knows programming, Kotlin looks like C sharp in a kind of way. So and then it's nice. So you don't need like semicolons to end whatever. We'll get into that later. And then iOS was using Objective C. Objective C is like I would not say a flavor of the C language, but then it's kind of like C in itself, but just different in a way. And then iOS, Apple developed down language because Apple owns iOS, of course, and then they developed Swift. I think it was in 2014. So Swift is like the main language for iOS, right? That different similarities and everything. So if you want to create a mobile app, you're either having like two options here. You either go natively, just like in web frameworks, like in front end, you either create with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or with the framework. So same here with mobile. You either go native, you either create it with pure Kotlin code, pure Swift code, or then you create it with a framework. Right. So I will explain the pros and cons of the framework, pros and cons of the native. Um, native is just plain Kotlin, right? And I guess for if you want to create for Android, you have something called Android Studio, and that's where you create Android apps. It's easy, it's fast. Like you have like a drag and drop place where you can create your themes and everything. Android Studio in itself, when you start up, is very complicated. Xcode too is very complicated. I would say mobile dev is not something not something you want to start first. You want to like have um a knowledge, like small knowledge of like programming in general before you start mobile dev because then it's actually complex. It's more complex than like front end or back end and stuff like that. Right? I wouldn't say it's more complex than back end in a way. Right. So native is Android Studio, and then native for iOS is Xcode using pure Swift, right? And then frameworks, we don't really have that much mobile frameworks, but I'll say we have React Native, and then we have Ionic, and then we have Flutter. In my opinion, I believe Flutter is the best. I won't say Flutter is the best, but in my opinion, because I use Flutter, right? And then somebody can be like, no, React Native is the best. So I'm not arguing with you. It just goes down to preference and stuff. But then I believe for this mobile stack course for the remaining 5 weeks, we would actually be doing a little bit of native Android and then Flutter because um I guess people didn't know that if you want to start developing an app for iOS, you kind of need some things. You need a MacBook and then you need some random Apple stuff. So it's really hard for you to start developing for iOS. So we will just start with Android and then let's see how it goes. So for the remaining 5 weeks, you'll probably be doing a little bit of native and then we'll switch to Flutter because Flutter is kind of like it's easy to learn and easy to grasp. And then you're trying something new with a different language and then you just learn everything together and it's beautiful, right? So I believe Flutter is the best. No, let's say I believe Flutter is best. I believe Flutter is the best in my opinion, and I guess that's what we're going to be learning along the line. So Flutter is the approach that frameworks kind of use is that they saw like a gap in the market. I'm like, okay, if a company wanted to create, let's say now Instagram wanted to create a mobile app, they need to have developers for Android and developers for iOS, or one developer that could do both of them because you can learn the both languages and do the both of them, right? And then that was like cost and everything. They're like, okay, wait. And that's where frameworks came, and they were like one code base, and then you can do multiple stuff. So now, if I write Flutter code, right? Flutter is the framework for mobile app development. If I write Flutter code, it will compile my code to both Android and iOS. So it's like one code base instead of like writing for Android and iOS. It just compiles it so I can have one code for the both platforms. I won't go into more Flutter because there's desktop and there's web and wherever. But then just for simplicity's sake, mobile. Same thing as React Native, it compiles your code to native Android code, native iOS code, right? So I guess that's the point of frameworks. That's what they actually do. And then we'll go into the pros and cons, right? So native is faster. It's faster at runtime, and then the build is smaller. So um, as a mobile app developer, one thing you're going to be looking at is the size of your app, and the speed, right? So um, I would say that Android like native code. Like if you create two apps, if you create one app with native and you create another app with Flutter, the same kind of app, but just the different platforms. Native is actually smaller in the bundle size, and then you know that when you want to download something on App Store, there's no how if you're downloading something on App Store, Play Store, the first thing you look at is the size of the app, like how big is this app, and that's when it's going to like refactor to think like, okay, maybe I'm not going to download it or not. And then developers are also thinking about it too, like how big is the app, like how big is the app. So native code in itself is smaller than um framework code, sorry, and then it's smaller and the bundle size and everything, and it's also faster. It runs faster than the platform code and the framework code or whatever. But then it's not. It depends on what you're doing, and then it depends on the path, the framework and stuff like that. But then the other pro I have for native here is that it has access to low level functions. So when I mean by low level functions now, the thing about frameworks like Flutter and React Native is that you need people to create plugins for them. Let's say plugins now. It's just like when I explained front end, where you have Node Package Manager that creates packages or libraries for the front end frameworks. Same thing now. You have something called Pub. Pub is like the package manager for Flutter, where like you create packages for Flutter because Flutter is a library or wherever framework engine, anything you want to call it. Right. So you also have that kind of marketplace too for Flutter. And then the problem is that um the advantage that native has over frameworks, right, is that the access to low level functions is there. You can access any low level function. I mean by low level function, I mean like if a user is using my app now and I want to get the user's device information, want to get the user's CPU usage or like camera and stuff like that. Some like hardware specific things, right? Or notification handler, request or service, whatever. Right. So if you're using a plugin, if you're using a framework, right? It's harder to access the low level functions if somebody has not created a plugin for it, right? So then you now start writing platform specific code, and as writing platform specific code, we'll go down into later. But then if somebody hasn't created the plugin, it's harder for you to like actually do something on that specific platform, iOS or Android. They both have restrictions too, so that's it. But then the cons of native is that it's harder for larger projects because then if you have a company that has listen on like WhatsApp itself. So WhatsApp has WhatsApp and WhatsApp business, and they have WhatsApp desktop, right? But they don't only have it for Android, they have it for iOS and they have it for Mac and they have it for Windows, right? So you can see that it's very hard to develop if any individual product had its own special code base, it will be very hard to develop things. You start to get a lot more complex and stuff like that. But if it was shorter now, that everything was in one code base, and then you just integrate in all of them, you can see how easy it is. And then the cost of development is also easier. You don't need too many people to hop on the project and stuff like that when you just have like one code base and everything. And then the pros of framework is that it's faster in development. Like what we just said, the cost of development in native is a big issue for them, right? So then frameworks make it easier for you to like develop things faster because you're not doing it for only one code base, you're doing it for others, both Android and iOS and whatever. And then you can have different approaches to stuff. You don't need to like be straightforward like the way native does it. You can do different stuff, you can do it in different ways, different styles and everything. I guess all both platforms have specific designs. Like Android has something called Material 3, Material 2, Material 1, whatever. I think the latest is Material 3. So you can pick whichever design you want, but it has to be material in itself, right? If it's not material, it's not looking Androidy and stuff like that. And iOS too has its own design specifications soon. Well, we get into that later. So the cons of framework is that slower in running than compared to like its native counterparts, and then the build size is bigger. The app size itself is bigger than its native counterpart, and then lack of access to low level functions. As I said, that if somebody has not created a plugin for that function and want to access in the person's phone, you need to write platform specific code, and it's harder than the plugin and everything. Blah. As we get on, we'll explain it better and everything. So the disadvantages is that you need a phone to actually do mobile dev. I won't say you need a phone because you can run an emulator on your laptop, but then to like actually learn it properly, it's like enjoy your learning or enjoy your development. You actually kind of need a development phone. It can be your actual phone, it can be just a random phone. But you actually need a development phone. If you want to test iOS apps, you want to create iOS apps itself, you need a MacBook, you need an iPhone. So, but I would say that Android is easier because then you can use just a HP laptop, any laptop, and then you need some other requirements too, though. But then we'll get into that later, because this is just the introduction. But then you need to have proper knowledge of what you're doing. As I said, I won't advise anyone to like start with mobile development first. You need to have like proper knowledge of a language, of any language, just any language, and then you cannot be like, okay, well, let me understand what I'm doing. Let me just hop into um, mobile development. But it doesn't mean though that you can't start learning. Just ask me to explain it for you properly, and I'm here for you. So yeah, don't be discouraged. Like if you don't know how to do anything in programming, and you be like, okay, it's development that is for me and stuff like that. So I got you. So there's no problem with that. We learn together, right? And then you need to be passive. You need to have this level of perseverance because then like all programming, like all levels of stack or whatever, you need to have this level of perseverance because a lot of problems are going to hit you hard, and then you need to be able to like stand the test of time. That's about that. Are you going to be the one that's just going to give up when you see a problem and error or whatever, or are you going to actually face the problem or the bug or whatever? So I guess as I've exhausted my points here. So thank you for having me, and see you next week or whatever.
The king himself. Thank you very much, Joba, for that enlightening session. And yeah, like Joba said, he has you, he got your back. If you have any question, just hold it and feel free to ask in the chat section. is ready for you. Any question, anyone, got you. So moving on to the next session, we're going to be talking about technical writing now.
Hace rato que tú me andas diciendo
Okay,
que me encantaría pasar una noche.
okay, that was interesting. All right, so moving on to the next session, we're moving on to the yeah, I guess because I put up the link on my Twitter to like get more people to join. I guess that's how the person got in. All right, thank you. Anyway, thanks. So moving on to the next session, technical writing. We've been having one of our idols, one of the OGs in this space. She's a big woman and she's like low key my sugar mommy, but she does not know who she is. So please, I would like to invite Ifine up to speak. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I
Alright.
don't know what you're talking about.
You're denying me. All right, no problem. No
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Ifion, and I'll be taking an intro session on technical writing. So, yeah, I have a slide, fortunately. Yes, I don't just like go off what I am saying. I hope you can see my screen, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
can you see
can.
my my okay. So I'm taking, like I said, an intro to technical writing. So first off, just an introduction about me. I'm a software developer. I write a couple of languages. My two major ones are Python and Julia. I'm a technical writer, obviously. For me to take this session, I have to be a technical writer, and yeah, I love contributing to open source. So the first thing before we begin is this quote from Shannon A. Thompson, and it goes, "There is no greater joy than creating something out of nothing and watching it come to life through your words." And you might be wondering, how does this go with technical writing? It goes because, I mean, when you have a tutorial or you have an article or you have words written down and someone can pick it from where it is and use it to build something, I mean, you will definitely be happy that you were able to impact someone from what you wrote. So what's technical writing? There are a lot of things to technical writing. So, technical writing is a type of writing that is used to convey technical or specialized information in a clear, concise, and easily understandable manner. So, technical writing rather, is basically you writing a piece for something that is really technical, like the name implies. So you have something that is really, really technical, something that is complex, and you want it to be understandable to people that are not even um, in that area. For instance, you are working in a factory and there are a lot of things there. You have iron, you have blade fans, there are a lot of things, but the end user is just really concentrated on using this blender. So what as a technical writer, you have to like convey all that information to the user on how to use the blender. The owner does not he really doesn't he or she doesn't really need to understand the whole process behind it, but how to use the end product. And it's typically used in a scientific, engineering, and other technical fields to communicate complex ideas and instructions to a specific audience. So, like I said, going back to the Blender example, you have people that want to use it, and it's very complex to use. The instruction manual there is technical writing. They've explained to you how you go about it. So the person that built it doesn't have to be there. The person that that assembled it doesn't have to be there for you to be able to use it. But because the person was able to convey, or a group of people were able to convey that particular knowledge through that manual, is an achievement of technical writing. And it's used in every field. It's not only in tech. Use it in a lot of things. In science, engineering, law, just any field that has any complex idea, technical writing is used to like break it down. And then you might be wondering why technical writing? I mean, I could just move on with my life and not do technical writing. But the thing is, so far you are in tech, I believe you should be a technical writer because you are going to be doing a lot of building. And for people to understand it, apart from reading your code, they need to like know your thought process behind what you've done. So I'm coming. Let me see. Why technical writing? I think. Okay, yeah. So I skipped the slide. I'll go back. So why technical writing? You need to clarify your own understanding. So in case you have let's say imposter syndrome, a very good way of you to come against that is for you to actually write articles, write documentation on it, and have it published because you're actually going to be helping yourself, and you're going to clarify your own understanding in case you have a blocker. I have done it so many times. You'll be able to communicate effectively. So let's say I have a code base and no one understands what I've done. For people to understand it properly, I would use technical writing. Then increase your visibility. So it's not every time it's code you'll be doing or you'll be building. You can increase your visibility in the tech space by writing articles, documentation, white papers for people, and with that, you are increasing your chance of you getting a job actually, and actually connecting with people. You have a good network of people, and also technical writing. It's not on this list, but technical writing actually, um, it actually improves your English because you would be forced to learn a lot of English and a lot of things for you to catch up. Then to you improve your resume and also your chances at interviews. So when they're asking you, when you're in an interview session and they're asking you, okay, what have you or what is the most challenging thing you've done? Okay, let's say you picked up um JavaScript in a week and you finished it. Wow, that's challenging. Good, everyone can do it. But when you now say, I'm not saying this is totally true, but it's actually a very, very good example of of what you can tell your interviewer during an interview. So when they ask you, oh, what's the thing you've done before? I had to pick a new framework. I had to understand this, and you had to write it. Like, do you know the kind of thing you just did there? You first had to understand it, and then you had to write about it. So that's like two work. You had to first understand what you wanted to like, because there's a difference between you understanding something and you writing it for people to understand. If you don't understand it, you cannot write. And even if you understand it and you are not you do not write it properly, people will not still understand. But then now you now conquered those two mountains. I mean, that's really good. So you can use it to improve your resume when they see you've written on a whole lot of of technologies. I mean, they'll be very, very glad. Then you help others in case people are stuck and there's no solution on the internet. It happens when Stack Overflow is not there for you. You can help others with it. It's really nice. And you are even helping yourself because in case you are stuck, you can always run back to it. It's a lucrative and highly paid skill from which you can build a successful career. Like I said, it's a lot of people earn a lot in technical writing, and I'm not talking about 100,000, 200,000, or even a million. People, I know people that earn over 2 million. Okay, when they convert it to naira per month just by writing technical writing, then doing technical writing. And I mean, they have a successful career in that. I mean, with all those money, you don't need to stress and think about some things for a lot of time. And yeah, to build expertise, so you would be able to build yourself because as you're writing, you are wanting people, and when they pick up your article, they should understand. So you have to master first before you write. And yeah, that's a really good thing. So you're very, very good at what you are doing. So yeah, so now I'll go back. I think I arranged this thing again. So forms of technical writing, there are various forms of technical writing actually. But people really just take it to, oh, I'm writing um technical article and or I'm doing technical writing or maybe API documentation. But like technical writing is not limited to just writing articles and documentation. You have user manuals, things you find when you open your new appliances, your laptop, your phone, your fan, your whatever. There are technical writers that wrote that down because if you don't know how to operate that particular equipment, the manual there is there for you to read and understand. Then you have documentation. The documentation you use from like the APIs or packages that you have online, the form of technical writing. Then the popular one, technical articles, there are tutorials, then white papers, case studies. You want to write something in depth, white papers like for them crypto. um, Technical writers. So you have PRD too. Before you start building a system, you have your PRD there to guide you through what that code is about. So yeah, or sorry, not code, what the product is about. So before you start building, you have to check through the document, and I mean it will be properly documented for you to be able to use to build. That's it also there. Then research papers uh that people read and specifications for machines and technical reports to forms of technical writing. So please, I'm sorry, give me a minute. I want to do something. I think I shifted this thing. Okay, yeah, should be good now. Yeah, okay, yes, good, it's good. Okay, so technical writing resources. This should have come last, but before we move forward, I would just want to show us. So I will share this slide definitely because I linked all of this. They are all links to resources, or I'll share it after. Yeah, these are ways for you to start getting started with technical writing. And you can see I put like page community writers program at the bottom. So I mean you should know some things before you start writing to your peers. So after now we know what technical writing is and what or why you should become a technical writer. And yeah, I'm going to say this at the end, at the beginning of my talk. If I, at the end of this my talk, you don't really understand what I am saying or what I have explained so far, that means I have not done a very good job as a technical writer. Because as a technical writer, you should be able to break down things into small bits for people to understand. So yeah, I'm trying my best here, and so please try to understand. Thank you. So we have technical writing tools. We start with the first one for you to research. You have Google. That's like the most common place where you would um you would search um ideas, or you search uh for references on what you are trying to do. Then you have Quora. Quora is a very good place. And Quora, I forgot to add Reddit. Reddit too. Then Stack Overflow in case you have any issue, or Stack Overflow could be a source of inspiration. Perhaps you have an issue and you go to Stack Overflow and it was not solved, and you see it there and you're able to solve it. I mean, you did some research for you to be able to get to Stack Overflow. And then um the person that just joined the train, chat GPT. So now before I move forward, ChatGPT is a lot of people use ChatGPT for doing a lot of things. Some people use it for just writing their article from beginning to the end. But as a technical writer, that's very wrong because you are giving it like so much power to do what is not meant to be doing for you. So you can use it to research. You can ask it questions, specific questions, and it will give you replies. Then you have your note taking or authoring tools. That's maybe you want people to read what you've done. Or now it's not, when I say people, I don't mean the public. I mean like maybe your close friends or an editor to read what you've done. You have Notion. Notion is quite popular. You have Google Keep Notes. In fact, how did I forget Google Docs? You have Google Docs. You have Microsoft Word. You have Dropbox Paper. So these are all applications you can use to jot for your technical writing. Personally, I used to use Google Docs at first because it was very nice. Then I switched to Google Keep Notes because I could just be sitting down somewhere and something just comes to my mind. I don't want to go through the stress of having to create a lot of docs. So I just open like my Keep Notes on my phone and I just jot some things down. And there was the time I wrote an entire article on my Google Keep Notes because the thing was just coming to my head and I was like, oh yeah, I like this. And I kept on writing and writing before time I was done with it. And now I use Notion because I do like a couple of writing. So I use it to track the ones that are there, the ones that that are meant to be written, the ones that are written, the ones that I am currently writing, and the ones I discontinued, and maybe some other ones. So I use Notion um to organize my writing. And Dropbox is for people. It's like Google Docs to like assume it's people forms. Then, in case you need to draw, you can use Draw.io. You can use Escali Draw. There are a lot of things you can use for drawing that is available. By the way, there are lots of other tools, but these are the tools that I've seen before and I've used in a way. So now you have your editing tool. So after you finish writing, there will be errors. So that people will not laugh at you when you have published your article and then you see on Twitter someone screenshot and then they will not circle it and say so person at Tifion wrote there was a there is a people in the room. Does that make sense? So before I embarrass me and my generations outside, um I will use an editing tool. So Grammarly is there, Qbot is there, then we have paraphrasers, and then you have logarithm checkers too. So that people will not be like, but bro, why did you copy my article? Sis, why did you lift my article? So that people don't just come and then say, oh, you copied this from this. You can use paraphrasers and um, logarithm checkers. Grammarly has all of it. So check it out so that you don't mistakenly plagiarize from the article gets flagged. And then you have publishing tools. You have Ashnode. Ashnode is very popular. You have Dev2. You have Medium. You have Swish. A lot of people don't use Swish in this region. You have WordPress for people that want to have like their personal blog. Then you have Drupal, so it's like WordPress, and then personal blog in case you build your own from scratch. Then the hardest part of writing is the first sentence. You're like, where should I begin? What should I do? But the thing is, you just start like just write. It doesn't mean like there are a lot of things that could there are a lot of things that could be that's in your mind. What should I do? How should I go about it? So you keep on thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, but you should just write. When you write the first sentence, there is a 50% chance or 70% chance that you'll finish the article because after I write the first sentence, you'll start making sense in your head and you would like be done in like little or no time. And then in summary, just begin. So I tell you, start technical writing today. Just begin it. It doesn't mean or you don't need something serious. Now, some people will say, "But someone has written this article before, or someone has solved this issue before." I mean, you are not that person. I am not that person. A lot of people would have written something before, but you writing on it doesn't. They will not come and beat you and say you stole my article, but because it's your own way of showing your true self to people that this is what I have done or this is what I understand from this. I mean, the internet is there to accommodate everyone. It's not like when those people uploaded their own article, they said, "Oh, we are gatekeeping this particular article. Nobody should submit it again." So just begin, just start. It doesn't have to be a very complex topic. It doesn't have to be something too serious that when people finish reading it, Elon Musk will hire you. It is so something very simple like what's the difference between print and return in Python? How do you set up your VS code? That's something that is at the moment as I'm talking is looking for on the internet and I've seen a lot of tutorials but doesn't understand and the person could stumble on your article and be like, wow, I think I understand. And you saved someone. So I think that brings me to an end of what I'm talking on today. I'm not going in depth, but she asked us another class or another call, then we could go into how to write an article. So yeah, thank you very much. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on Twitter. I reply at least maybe a day. I don't reply immediately because I'm scared of texts. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, that's all.
Wow. Wow. Maybe I think I will collect extra person for technical writing to deal. Like you said, start now. I don't open my Google Docs like this. I don't need to think of topics. So no, I'll go join
That should
now.
be the way.
That's the way. That's the only way. So, you have a question, but I think all questions should come after the session. So that will make everything tidy. So, Telka, I can see your question immediately after the session. I mean, if Hannah will be able to answer it. So, on to great. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hope everyone can hear me. I'm outside, I'm not at home, so hope it's not bad.
Yeah,
Is it
no
clear?
problem.
Okay. Um, so looking at Telsa's, actually, no, Ugochi, please, I'm sorry. Looking at your question, they are not. I'm going to answer that question now. They are not, and that's where I'm going to come in. So, we had Ifihan tell us beautifully well about technical writing. In fact, she made my work very easy, and I thank you for that, Ifihan, Mama the boss. But as for me, I'm not here to talk about technical writing. I'm here to talk about content writing, which you can now bring out copywriting and creative writing as they are respective branches of content writing. I hope that answers your question, Ugochi. So, I don't need to really talk about technical writing, but for content writing, before I talk about it, let's first of all answer this question of what is writing. And writing basically is transforming like verbal information, verbal everything into written format. You understand? So it's like now that we know what writing is, what is content writing? Content writing is writing, editing, and publishing content in a digital format. So like I really hope that's a very simple definition. That's like the simplest I could find. So it's like writing, editing, and publishing content in a digital format. So like basically it's all about like the words online, even written, like paperbacks and the rest. That's writing for you. That's like content right there. So right, why do we write? I think if you has already even like talked about this, why do we write? Because if we don't write, who will do? Who will? Like we are us. Who is going to write? How would the information be passed across? How would people have something to take a break on after work? That's like we deliver the content, or we make the content that make the web interesting. Do you understand? So right, as a content writer, basically what do? You might wonder what's the difference between content writing and technical writing. So it's like, what do you do as a content writer? As a content writer, you are researching like based on your industry, basically based on your industry, depending on wherever you are working. You're going to research industry related topics, that topics that are like related to that industry, and then you're going to write clear and precise copies for the sole purpose of gathering and retaining users, basically marketing. That's the difference between content writing and technical writing. Technical writing, you write to inform, educate, and then there's a branch of technical writing that has you writing to document. Do you understand? But for content writing, you are you write you are writing informative content, educative content. If you are documenting any process, if you're even if you are writing an entertaining copy, like this creative writing that Ugochi mentioned, and then there's copywriting too, when you write something really really spectacular that catches the attention of your reader, and then they click that link and they want more. All of that is just for the main purpose of marketing, and that's the difference between content writing and technical writing. And there's another thing I would like to say, which is technical writers are content writers, but not all content writers are technical writers. Basically, technical writers are like a branch, they're like part of content writers that write for technical companies. Do you understand? You will not see them cracking joke in their documents. You don't see them cracking jokes in their document. But for content writers, like in another industry, you're allowed to, just depending on what industry you are going for. Example, if you are in, let's say you want to write a copy to in educate people about cold storage rooms, and you write about how, or if you put your food in cold storage, it's going to like preserve it and things like that. And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, and then you don't even need to look further. We are your cold storage room plug and things like that. You understand? But for like technical rights, and another difference is like for content writers, you mostly find them in the marketing team or the growth team. Why for technical writers? You could find technical writers in the marketing team, but they are mostly in product and sometimes in like engineering, because even whenever they undo like blogs, sometimes it's like those whenever you want to access an API, using this idea right now, you want to access an API, and then they tell you actually, you know what, let me backtrack. There's Twitter for developers. I hope we all know that. Like, there's like a part of Twitter that's for developers, and if you click on it, you actually see articles. You see the part where they tell you get access to like Twitter's API and things like that. And that's beautifully well about content writing. And just like Ifeanyi said, the best way to start is to just start, and it's like very easy to branch into content writing. And I also wanted to like clarify about when she was mentioning about like online articles. She's right. Technical writing is not just about like online articles, as we all see. Somebody will go and write one tutorial, and then they're like, yeah, technical writer. But it's really not as simple as that. It's like the whole point about, you see many people writing so many tutorials, so many technical blog content, and then you think they're just technical writers, but when they get into the industry, they have to branch out. So it's like I remember I researched this, and I researched careers for technical writers, and then there's content developers, there's content writers, you see what I'm saying? And then there's like documentation specialists, manual writers, policy writers, user guides. There are different branches of technical writing, the same way there are different branches of like content writing. You have some people that are just like specializing in copywriting is completely different. Those are people that write the like catchy copies, particularly to like get users. technical writing is not necessarily about like retain it's let me say for content writing, another major thing you need to notice that content writing will attract users and try to retain them. That's when you go on websites, you have Zikoko pushing out content left and right. You have like articles. You see Medium now, how does Medium retain their users? They call other writers, few, like writing this genre, writing relationships and singles. So people that are interested in knowing more about like single people ethics and relationship ethics will read. So people will write short stories online. So people will even write about art and culture and things like that. All this is content. That's the thing about being a content writer. Everything is content, and like coming with copies, that's your job. Writing is your job. Retaining the users is your job. You're not just writing for people to just read, like, and go. You're writing in hopes that people will read, like, share, and come back. I hope that's like very, very clear. And basically, I let me just share this little part because I'm about to end. I started with technical writing because no, actually, I'm naturally a writer, a fiction writer. I write a lot of stories. I have a newsletter. I write different stuff, basically create my own world in words. I like to call myself a friend of words in many forms because writing is just beautiful. So it's like I remember I asked a friend of mine, also my mentor back then, and then he was like, "This technical writing sent me resources, helped me out," and I was excited. I was happy. But here was the thing. Here was a problem we had. Every single time I was sending him an article that, "Oh, can you look at this before I publish it?" He'd be like, "Great, you added a joke here. You're not meant to do that. Great, you added a joke here. You're not meant to do that." I'm like, "What? I can't. What do you mean I can't make a joke?" And then he's like, "You can't make a joke now. This technical writing, you're not. It's more serious. You're like writing with a purpose." So it's like I couldn't do that, and I was like, "So what? So what do you mean I can't do that?" Luckily for Misha, not long after I met a content writer, and this was like way after I even started my newsletter. And the person just walked up to me and said, "Hey, are you interested in a content writing job? We want to put you in charge of our email marketing content." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." But I quickly went to go and search Google that what they mean, what's content writing, and I saw that, oh, I can make. I'm waiting for you. Like your vibrant tutor is here. Come and write. Come and fill the world with different contents, left and right. Talk about everything and anything. Do creative writing. Do storytelling, blog writing, web content writing. Everything. We're here for you. And that will be all from me. Thank you very much. Bye.
Wow. Oh, I'm completely speechless right now because this is a lot. And yeah, please, quick one, please subscribe to our newsletter. It's really amazing, and she talks about a lot about love. I don't know why, but still help us like subscribe to our newsletter. She talks about love and how boys don't deserve shit. But I don't know why. I don't know why. So, moving on to the next stack, we'll be inviting our idolo, that is Mr. Ido Daniel, to come and talk to us about blockchain development. Daniel, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, bro. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Daniel Idu. Um, I'm a software developer and technical writer. So my specialty is majorly in the blockchain. That's what I fancy right now. I might decide to change, but right now that's what I fancy. So I'll be talking about blockchain development, and I will also be a tutor in the blockchain stack. So, firstly, I'll be talking a lot about the blockchain, firstly, and then I would talk about decentralization, and then I'll go ahead to give us the tools used by blockchain developers and what they do exactly, how you can get started, what's my advice to you getting out or starting out as a blockchain developer, and and what are the job opportunities that are available to blockchain developers. So the first thing I will be doing is I'll be explaining the blockchain, because obviously it's called blockchain development, so you must know what the blockchain is, as it is. So the blockchain basically, it's more like a decentralized ledger that basically records transaction on a public or private network. So it means we could have a private blockchain, we could have a public blockchain, and then it uses cryptography to secure and verify transactions and ensure that this information is stored in a tamper-proof and is basically immutable. Sorry. So the blockchain has a lot of use cases in insurance, in voting system, in supply chain management, in finance, and more of that. So now I want to break the word block and chain now. So we're talking about the blockchain network. It means that it consists of different blocks, and then each of these blocks contain something we call an hash, which is basically a unique code generated by the blockchain algorithm. So what the hash in each block is that they are dependent on um, the previous block. So it kind of creates this unbreakable chain of transaction. So it's like a block containing an hash depends on another hash for them to be able to process transaction. So they kind of depend on one another, and then the transaction is able to flow from one hash or from one block to another. So we must have heard of things like Web 3, Web 1, Web 2. Yeah, all of that stuff is just basically trying to differentiate Web 3 to us. So for Web 1, we can say Web 1 was the evolution of internet, basically, where we were only able to read from the internet. And then Web 2 is more like you are able to read and then you can contribute, such that we have things like Twitter, Facebook, where we read informations and then we can contribute to the informations we see online. And then Web 3 is basically having all of that I've said, and then plus ownership. So you can own content, you have the ability to own a space, you have the ability to own a part of the internet, you have the ability to own certain things in the blockchain. And then another thing that is so key in blockchain is decentralization. So as I said that you have the ability to own things. It means that there is virtually no central entity. It means nobody actually has autonomy or has the absolute the absolute ability to stop others from probably accessing blockchain and all of that. So decentralization basically takes away power from the sort of big guys in this case, and then gives it to the common user. So we can be able to perform transactions. We can do a lot of things basically on the blockchain, as I'll be explaining as we go on. So decentralization basically makes the system more secure and trustworthy, as no single entity has complete control over the network. So examples of these blockchains is Airwave blockchain, we have Hedera Hashgraph, we have Ethereum, we have Solana, we have Cardano, we have FuelVM, we have Binance Smart Chain, we have Avalanche, we have IOTA, we have Polkadot, we have Hyperledger Fabric, and many more, many more. You can find as much as I think there are over 100 blockchains, and they are specific. Some of them are specific for certain things. For some, they are created basically to help create or motivate greener energy. Some are created to supplement what other blockchains have done. But basically, the most common ones we have is Ethereum. Ethereum is very common. Majorly, is more like the starting part for blockchain developers. You would most likely just hear of Ethereum. Most of your building would most likely start from Ethereum, because it's more like the easiest way to get started. So also you also get to learn concepts like layer 1, what's layer 2, what are bridges, what's the cross, what are cross chain, what's a side chain. All of that is specific to this blockchain. A blockchain can be a layer 1, another can be a layer 2, another can be a side chain. Some could be cross chain, some could be bridges. And then my opinions in Web 3 also is very important, because some people see certain products, they see certain tools from a perspective, and their perspective can be right, but you might be seeing it from another perspective, and your perspective also might be right. So they are usually contradictions, but once you can understand the concept of terminologies, I think you'll be good to go. And then another thing that must be mentioned is smart contracts. Smart contracts are very powerful in blockchain development because they are very powerful in blockchain development. They basically are self executing programs, so that enforces agreement between two parties. So I'll give an example. I'll give an example of two people, Ade and Shade. For example, Ade is a real estate investor and wants to sell a piece of house or land or whatever, and he wants to sell it to Shade. But it happens to be that Shade is not able to pay all of that money at once. So he wants to program it such that when Shade makes that payment is complete, the land can be transferred to her directly. So it eliminates the third party, it eliminates intermediaries. So Ade is able to sell his land to Shade directly whenever she makes the payment. So that's how to explain smart contract. So they basically remove intermediaries and connect two parties together. For example, you want to get a photograph online, and then you don't want to go through all of this third party and whatever. You can just basically use the smart contract and connect you directly to the creator of that project or creator of that picture, and then you can obviously get the product. And then there are concepts, the area of concepts in blockchain development that you get to learn as we move on in the workshop. You learn things like private key, you learn things like validators, you learn things like gas limits, what a public key is, what a Merkle tree is, what is sharding. You learn proof of stake, proof of work, you learn proof of history. So proof of stake, proof of fund, and proof of history are majorly consensus mechanism basically in the Web3 space that are majorly the building blocks of why the blockchain exists and exactly how it operates basically. And then we have we learn of data permanence also. That's data permanence with Airwave. You hear of consensus, as I've mentioned. You hear of ECR20. You hear of account abstraction, which is a big thing in the Web3 space now. You hear of interoperability. You hear of IPFS. There are also other concepts that you get to learn when we start the blockchain workshop. It's a field where you keep learning and learning and learning. So if you say you want to learn something new in the blockchain today, and you keep doing that for 365 days, I'm sure you wouldn't have covered up to 10% of what it is to know about it. So it's a very wild field that you just keep learning and keep having the spirit of a newbie, so you can get to know a lot. So what do blockchain developers do basically? What do they do? So they are responsible for building and maintaining blockchain applications. So they develop, they design, they test dApps, and they run dApps that run on a blockchain. So dApps is called decentralized applications. So they are just applications, just that they are decentralized. And then as I've said, they design blockchain architecture. Um, they also develop smart contracts. We are using languages like Solidity and the main ones I'll mention as we go on. And then they implement consensus mechanism also, which I mentioned, proof of work, proof of stake, proof of history. They test and they debug also because they need to be sure that the things they are pushing out to the public is secure and all of that. And then they work a lot around security and performance optimization. You hear things like gas optimization, gas limits. They do a lot of that to ensure that the user is not paying an heavy sum of money to perform very simple transactions. And then they also integrate the dApps with front end applications. So when it comes to blockchain development, I would actually say you should not begin blockchain development as a newbie. I would advise you get to know about programming first of all. You do a bit of front end, also do a bit of back end, because it will basically help you be a better blockchain developer. You would spend more time focusing on um, what the blockchain is and building if you have prior knowledge of development, like you previously were a front end developer or you previously had knowledge of mobile development. So that's, or you have knowledge of back end development or front end development, because some of these tools also have the applications in the blockchain. And then they also keep up with latest development, because always being active in the space also is key. You get to learn about new ways of doing things that previously, maybe probably 2 years ago, it has depreciated. I'll give an example now. There is a test net they call Ring B testnet. So about few months ago, the Ethereum Foundation just depreciated the network, meaning it no longer supported applications or projects that were built on Ring B. So you have to move all of your applications from Ring B to the Gioli network. That's the new one they support now. So you getting to know about the latest development in the space, what's the new thing that they are talking about now, what are the new use cases of the blockchain, and all of that is very important as a blockchain developer. So in this stack, as we move on, we'll be exploring the blockchain development. That's what we'll be doing um for the remaining weeks. We'll be looking at smart contract development. We'll talk about DApp development. Talk about how to create private blockchains. The next is languages and tools. I'm almost done already. As I've said before, prerequisite knowledge of some programming languages or experience is required to begin blockchain development. So you must have knowledge of HTML, CSS, basic programming, JavaScript, because they are so important. And so the first tool I'm talking about is Ganache. So Ganache is used to test contracts and applications locally before you deploy them out for the public to use. We have Infura. So Infura is basically an Ethereum node services, an Ethereum node service. So the way these node services work is that because you are not able to be on the blockchain 24/7, you consistently you're not able to run blockchain on your own consistently. You're relying on node providers will give you the ability to run your own programs on the blockchain using their node. So they run the nodes on your behalf 24/7. So you're able to deploy your blockchain. So your project is available on the blockchain 24/7, because you may not have the cost to be able to run a private blockchain on your own 24/7. So they do that for you, and they charge a little bit of fee so you can access the blockchain whenever you like. And another thing is Remix. Remix is like an IDE, integrated development environment for writing, testing, and deploying smart contracts on the blockchain. And then we have Truffle. Truffle is for compiling and testing and deploying smart contracts. So yeah, a lot of compiling, a lot of testing, a lot of deployment, because they are so important in development. Then we have MetaMask. So before you can deploy to the blockchain, you will need at least some funds to be able to process that transaction. So MetaMask is like a wallet that sort of holds your fund, whether testnet funds or mainnet funds. And then you always need MetaMask or other wallet services to be able to access the blockchain. And then you use tools like Web3.js and EtherJS. So these ones just means they basically allow you to interact with the blockchain, interact with your front end, and all of that. And then you have Solidity. Solidity is a programming language, the most widely used programming language in Web3, basically. So it's more like C++. So it has this type effects that you can use to write projects, and it's compatible with EVM chains like Binance Smart Contract, Polygon, Avalanche, and many have we. And then another one is Rust. So I love Rust a lot. It's more like a newer programming language in the blockchain community. Rust is used by the Solana community a lot. Another community like Terra, Near, Polkadot, Elrond, they use Rust to write their contract. They use Rust to do a lot of their compiling, testing, and all of that. So it's a low level language for writing smart contracts. We can also use Rust for backend development, as they mentioned in the yesterday's session. So the reason why Rust is majorly used is because of its memory efficiency, the simplicity, the reliability, and the safety of Rust. Rust is very powerful in writing blockchain applications. Then we also have Viper. Viper is more of a Python-based programming language for those who would not want to leave the Python ecosystem. We have Brownie, we have Foundry, we have Alchemy NFT APIs, we have React, Next.js. They are all used. Those ones are used for building front-end components of your dApps. You use things like OpenZeppelin. OpenZeppelin is more of like a library of reusable code is a library of reusable code where uh, you can reuse your smart contract code in another project. So it's more like they give you a piece of code, like a boilerplate code that you could used to start writing your smart contract project. So the way it is written is such that OpenZeppelin uses some security models, or importing OpenZeppelin into your project will give that project some form of security and other features that you might not get if you are writing the code from scratch. And then you have Etherscan for verifying blockchain and confirming blockchain transactions. You have Ink, you have Move, you have Sway. Sway combines Solidity and Rust together. It combines that effectiveness of that EVM and contract ABI stuff of Solidity plus the efficiency and memory management of Rust together. So Rust is quite cool. So the thing about blockchain development is, for example, this way I mentioned now is just used for a particular blockchain. So if you probably get into blockchain development and you learn only Sway, or you all you know is Sway, you didn't go first with something that's so general like Ethereum, you just go directly to Sway, you most likely will not get so much of companies to work with, because Sway is particular by a company. It was a company that created it to write smart contracts on their blockchain. So it's like you narrowed yourself down a lot. And then we have a lot of APIs and SDKs. We have ThoughtWeb SDK, we have Moralis API, Moralis SDK. So what these guys do is most of them just basically simplify the way we do things. For example, where I used to write React Native code, we were required to build a Web3 integration where the users or the freelancers could pay for their services using cryptocurrency. So we needed to make use of one of these SDKs and just implement it into the front end. So what we do in this case is that they usually have um, like a dashboard where you can create an account and basically just copy their API key into your project. And then what you do is, after copying the API key into your project, they usually have like some lines of code, like 7 lines, sometimes 1 line of code that you just put into your project, and then you just have that functionality. You won't go through the hassle of building that function from scratch. So it makes life easy already because of the existence of that SDK or API. And we have security tools also, because security is a very big thing in Web3 space. We have security tools like Securify and Matrix. Um, Basically, then next is what are the jobs opportunities present in blockchain development is wide, and it's basically, I think, the highest I've seen so far in basically for someone who is into development. It's basically the highest I've seen so far. You could work as anything. You could work as a software engineer. You could work as a block end developer, as a front end developer, as a protocol engineer. You could work as a software engineer in that you have experience previously of things like AWS, things like Go, TypeScript, REST APIs, GraphQL, Docker. So you see all of those tools, they just pack it into the job description and just title it Web3 software engineer or something like that. So you are required to know all of that in addition to software engineer. So having sometimes experience of things like backend, front end would go in a long way in helping your career as a blockchain developer. You can also work as a developer relations advocate. You can work as a smart contract developer. You could work as a Solidity developer. You could work as a Rust developer. You can be a content creator if you wish. You could be a researcher. You could go into cryptography. You could be a systems engineer. You could be an NFT developer. You could even be a product manager, because having that sort of experience or skills in blockchain development will give you an edge in a blockchain based startup than someone who has no experience of blockchain. So where is the applications of all of this? You have applications in health management, in healthcare, in supply chain, in voting systems, in real estate, in financial systems, in energy trading, and in intellectual property rights, and in gaming. So all of these sectors usually have a lot of applications of blockchain where um, the idea of decentralization is sold to the user as a product. So buy into it, and then they get developers to work on the project. So as I will reiterate again, as I've said, for you to get into blockchain development, I would suggest you take the front end stack or the back end stack, and get to know the basics of programming before diving into blockchain development. So I guess from my end, that'll be all. Thank you.
Hello. And thank you once again for coming on to enlighten us on that beautiful topic. I guess on to the next speaker, we'll be having Vice Coach. Are you here? Are you here? Okay, I think my network is back now. Yes, I'm back. Okay, so on to the next stack. We're moving on to product management, and I'll be inviting Mr. Emmanuel Ubi to give us a little one or two about the stack. Mr. Emmanuel, are you here?
Yeah, yeah. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Loud and
Okay,
clear.
because it's probably so. If at any point you stop hearing me, then please indicate or send a message in the chat box. Thank
Alright, no
you.
problem.
Yeah, project management. Um, Firstly, my name is Manuel Obi. I'm a software engineer by day, and I also write to. Well, it depends. If I'm not coding at night, then I can write. But yeah, I'm firstly a software engineer. Um, yeah. So project management. I'm going to be saying a bit about the whole scope of project management. That is project management processes from when you have an idea to from the idea phase to the completion of a project. That is delivering the project to client or stakeholder. And I'm going to be saying also a very high level brief overview of how you can become a project manager. So yeah. So yeah, every company, every business, every venture has projects that they carry out, which springs up the need for project management. It is a very essential part of every company, right? It's very essential, it's very critical. It's a very sought after role in not even in tech, generally for businesses or companies or ventures, right? So um, it's important. Basically, it's an important role for anybody to take on. Project management, for a definition, it's a process. It involves planning, organizing, and controlling or directing resources. Now, resources in this case are what you call employees. That is the engineers, or I'm trying to relate to tech now. the engineers, the developers, or um, the designers, or all the different fields, right? Those are the resources I refer to. So when I say project management is a process of planning, organizing, and controlling, I mean controlling resources, that's the designers and developers, engineers, all that, to achieve a specific goal or objective within a desired time frame. Now, again, very importantly, the key phrase here is within a desired or defined time frame. Time is very important when engaging a project. At the beginning of every project, there would be a planning phase where uh, where the scope of the project is defined, the goals that want to be achieved would be laid out, the objectives of that project would be laid out, and one very important thing that would be the outcome of that project is time. Time is one of the very important things that will be the outcome of that planning session, right? So, in all that the project manager does, in all his or her activities, everything he or she does, they must factor in time, right? So, with regards to the processes or the different phases of project management, the first stage would be the initiation. Yeah, the initiation, that would be the first stage, what I'll call the initiation stage. Now, in this stage, like I said, the project is defined, objectives and goals are established. In this phase, also, the project manager will be appointed from an array of project managers. The project manager to lead this particular project would be appointed at the initiation stage, and the project team would be assembled. So, assembling the team, depending on the kind of project, again, relating to tech or software, we could assemble a team of engineers, designers, and all. In the initiation stage of that project, the project team would be assembled. In this stage, the scope of the project will be determined and all that, and they would actually have this meeting to see what can be discovered or how that project can be completed in a particular time frame. Now, when the project manager is selected for that project, everything concerning all these processes in charge, is taken charge of by the project manager, right? So he or she begins to handle these processes at every point in time. So after the initiation stage, we have something you could call the planning itself. Now, the planning stage is, as the name implies, the development of the project plan. Now, this is where the project manager and all stakeholders involved begin to outline the scope, the schedule of the project, the budget, and the amount of resources that would be required. So if you have a very small project or a very small website to build and you're assembling a team, you know, okay, I might need one front-end engineer, one back-end engineer, one designer, and so on. But if you're about to build the next Facebook and in your mind you want to build it in 3 months, then you know you need a lot more than that, right? So it's at this stage you begin to outline the scope of your project and the kind of resources you would need to accomplish that project in set time. Now, also in this portion of, or in this phase, you would be looking at what are the risks that could occur with the project. How would your team communicate? What are your plans, or what is like the breakdown of how you push out this project to the client or the stakeholder? All this happens in the planning phase and under the charge of the project manager. So as I'm explaining these phases, I'm also letting you know how the project manager handles these particular phases, right? So after the planning, there's what we could call the execution, right? The plan is down, the resources have been acquired, you have your schedule, you have a means by which you are going to communicate. It's now time to begin to execute that plan, right? So that's what the execution phase is all about. The project manager will be responsible for coordinating the team, that the project team that has been assembled, monitor the progress of each and every member of that team, and ensure that that project continues to stay on plan and stay on schedule, and stay within the budget that has been allocated for that project. So for some of us okay, I'm going to assume that we are all just starting out, we're all just beginners, right? For example, there's a team with a project on ground where we're asked to build a mobile app for one guy or one client somewhere. He said he wants the new Twitter. He wants to create a Twitter that will rival Twitter, right? And he wants it in a mobile app form. His budget is $5,000, right? That budget has been communicated to the project team, and that within that budget, the project team has been assembled. Now, if $5,000 is going to handle the team, is going to handle the what do I call it? The resources that team is going to use in building that app. We know that every I'm looking for the word. I don't know why I can't find out. So every tool, yes, that is it. Every tool that team is going to use to accomplish that project must be acquired within the range of the budget, right? You can't be building an app. Let's say you're building an app for 10,000 people, and you go and buy, go and pay for hosting of 30 years. You see that it's not even viable. It doesn't make any sense, and it's further wasting money that would further exceed the budget of that project, right? So it's just like one of the things the project manager keeps an eye out for, looking to stay within budgets with every decision that is going to be made. So that is like the execution phase. Something else would be, like I said, monitoring the project's progress. That is the progress that every individual on the team is making and ensuring that it stays on track. Like for developers here that would know, you might plan to implement something and you'd say, during sprint planning, you'd say something like, it will take 4 hours or it will take a day. And for some reason, anything happens, right? You end up spending 3-4 days, sometimes a week, trying to solve a particular problem. Now, communicating that you spent a week on a problem you're supposed to spend a day for to the project manager has to now adjust the schedule, the project manager has to look at the schedule, see how that 1 week can be reconciled, and make sure that it is covered up for in some way so as to stay on plan, stay on schedule, right? Yeah, so that's all about the execution phase. So again, the project manager is involved with the project from beginning to end. The project manager is at the center of the project from beginning to end. So something that's very key and very important, very critical to the success of a project manager or even a project management team is communication. The project manager communicates with the client, communicates with the stakeholder, communicates with all the members of the team. He or she is the very, I don't know how to stress this, but I think you would get my point. It's so critical. A project manager is so critical to a team working on the project. He or she is very, very critical, right? So communication is very important. You don't need to go to school to learn how to be a project manager. You can find courses online that will teach you rudiments of project management, certify you. But at the end of the day, you can go to Harvard or go anywhere. You need to know how to communicate on time. It's not just about communicating again. You need to communicate when and where. Immediately it happens, right? Because you're in the center of, you might be at the center of a 15-man or 10-man team, and you need to know what everybody is up to at every point in time. If there's a slack, you need to pick up on it immediately and report it as at when due, right? So you need to be able to communicate. I can't stress it enough. The project manager is also responsible for ensuring that all the deliverables are completed, right, and is delivered to the clients or stakeholders. So if the developers come and say they are done, because this one happens very, very often, developers come and say, it's done with the work, he has done it, it's fine. He will go and test now, and you'll be seeing bins there. The stuff will not be working. So it's the project manager's job to ensure that it all works. If the developer says it's done, the project manager will appoint the QA to go and run the tests and check that it's actually done before letting the developer go, right? Because most of the time, developers say they're done, designers say they're done, backend say it's done, and everybody has gone to cook beans. Everybody has gone to cook beans there. So yeah, it's very important, it's very essential that the project manager is there to cover all loose ends. And what else? Like I said, communication is very important. Establishing the clear lines of communication is also important. If on your team, or we are communicating with WhatsApp or whatever, or Google Chats, right? You have to establish a clear line of communication so that when you send a message on Slack, your designer or your engineer who you're trying to communicate with will not say that they were expecting your message on WhatsApp or they were expecting your message on Google Chats. There has to be a clear mode of communication that has been planned out from the onset to be able to communicate very clearly. You need to be able to provide regular updates. For a project manager to be able to provide regular updates, that means they need to have regular updates from the engineers, from the members of the team, from everyone. They need to have regular updates from them as well, for them to provide accurate, regular updates. So project managers will be on your neck. They will be on your neck. Sometimes you might not like them, but at the end of the day, you will like them, it's their job. They will be pressing you to get things done. That's how it works. Project manager still called me this morning, 8 a.m. on Saturday. So that's how it works. The project manager will be on your neck, stepping on you to make sure that you get your deliverables done, so that he or she in turn can also notify everyone, and the project has to keep moving and be on time. So yeah, project managers are critical and very important in ensuring the success of projects in any industry, not just tech, ensuring the success of projects across board. So now, how can you become a project manager? It's really two things, not just two things. You need education and you need the skills. Now, with regards to education, I'm not saying you need to go to school or go and study project management or something. With regards to education, people that study business management already have a good balance for project management. I think that's just how it is. If you study business management in school, you have a foundation to become a project manager. That's as far as going to school. There are also institutions that provide certifications and education for project management or project managers. I think they call them PMI or PMIP. I'm not really sure. I think you guys would have to look that up. But PMI, basically, PMI provides certifications and education for project managers. Different platforms would offer you courses on project management and certify you when you get to the end of the course. So that's one route to go about it. Then that's for the education. For actual core skills, like I said, communication is very important. You need to be, to a certain extent, you need to be really polite so that you don't come across as I don't know how to put this, but you need to be polite. You are going to be communicating with a lot of people. You need to be a leader. You need to show that you have some leadership tendencies in you. so that you don't go ahead and start pissing people off and stuff like that. So you need to be able to communicate. You need to be a leader. You need to be able to manage your time. A big part of project management is delivering on time, keeping to schedules. You need to be able to manage your time, and you need to be organized. There are lots of moving parts in project management. Lots of moving parts. Everybody's job is literally your job in some way. Whether the engineer finishes in 1 hour or in 2 hours concerns you. Whether the designer does his work on time concerns you. So everybody's work is literally your job, and you need to be organized. You have to have some organizational skills to handle all those properly. So again, communication, leadership, time management, and organizational skills. As far as getting opportunities as a project manager, having these skills and basic certifications from those kind of institutions that would offer you those certifications, you can begin to look for opportunities by internships or volunteering. Just volunteer to manage a project for a certain group of people, or take on leadership roles in your current job and see how it feels also. Yeah, so that's about it from me. Becoming a project manager requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and lots of calmness. You need to be calm. But with the right push and the combination of skills I've mentioned, I'm sure you'll be very successful as a project manager. Yeah, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that beautiful session. All right, so I guess we've come to the end of all the talks we have to treat today. Does anyone have any question? Don't be shy. Hmm. Let me see. Does anyone have any question? Telka, Shay, Sunny, are you all good? All right. I guess we've come to the end of another beautiful session. Okay, good, great, great. No question, no question. All right. Thank you once again to all the amazing speakers for coming to shed light on your different stacks. And for just know that there are some few people that will be there's a few people that will be entering your DMs for to be their mentor. Please just accept everyone with open arms. Like Greta and Ifean, I'm going to enter your DMs. Come on, for you guys to show me the way. I want to make money like you guys. Then also Danny, I'm also going to be entering your DMs so I can make money too. So once again, thank you all for joining this session. No problem. I is it money? I went out with 100 naira. If you like, don't collect me. Anyways, thank you once again for joining this session. We'll meet next week, same time, Saturday and Sunday. Thank you very much.